What's going on, people? Welcome aboard. My name is James. This is Home Remedy Fitness. Appreciate the support. Appreciate y'all coming by. If this is your first time dropping by, welcome to the channel. We got a good workout for us today. If you are returning, welcome back anyways, because you kind of know the deal, and we're going to get into it today. So we got a 45-minute full body kettlebell workout. I used a 65, a 45, and a 30. So the heavier side we're using for the swings, the thrusters, kind of the compound movements. And then at the end, we have a core 6-minute Tabata. So just lighten up the midsection, and I used a smaller kettlebell, so a 30, and then that sweet spot right in the middle. So find those kettlebells that work best for you, and we'll use that for the duration of our workout. If you are seeing a couple of movements here that are kind of unfamiliar to you, you go ahead and jump to the back. I'll have everything listed out, little videos kind of detailing it step by step on how to do it. If you are okay with it, we can hit the ground running. We can go ahead and get into things, bypassing our warm-up today. So if you have not warmed up, be sure to do that. I have other videos as far as warm-ups. You can click on one of them, or you can just go ahead, do it yourself, press pause right here, then we'll meet back up when we get started. Also, I am opening up some online clientele, so if you are interested with some one-on-one training, you go ahead, hit me up. I'll have a description in my link, so I can take on 3 clients right here, totally free of charge. It'll have consultation, one-on-ones, and offer 8 classes throughout the duration of the month. So if you are interested in that, please do not hesitate to reach out, inbox me. We'll get something going for us. If you're not interested, totally bypass and disregard everything that I just said. Let's go ahead, let's get into it. We got 45 minutes ahead of us. 6-minute core Tabata. It's a good one today, folks. Let's do it. First set down. Hopefully we're getting the groove of things. We're snatching hard underneath that kettlebell. We're staying strong. We're being very stable in that bottom portion of the lunge. And with these presses, let's try and be as explosive as we can. Pressing hard into the ground, alternating, getting that proprioception going. If the pressing is difficult to manage in one fluid maneuver, you can definitely do a walkover. You can do a press. Then you can exchange hands on the kettlebell a little bit slower. If that is your fitness level, find something that works for you. Then for the planking as well, you can go high, you can go low, whatever's working for you today.
I'm falling on my knees so bad. When I'm with you, I'm on my way. Yeah, you do something to me. You do something. You are my babe. Yeah, you do something to me. You do something, something,
full body combinations coming at you here with the second group of movements. Let's go ahead, let's grab a little bit heavier of a kettlebell here for the two-handed clean into a thruster. And then directly from there, we're hopping into some curls. So getting those biceps activated, getting very comfortable in the bottom portion of our squat and wrapping up with a little bit more full body mobility. Got some kick throughs, got some rock backs. Let's unlock those hips. Let's be strong with our shoulder stabilizers. Get those obliques fired up. Got another round coming at you.
Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light.
great job here, people. We're about halfway there, so get your breather. We got a minute. This next group of movements is going to be focusing a lot on core stabilization, a lot of hip stabilization. The chainsaw rows, we're loading up that front glute. The march, we are looking to not have our hips collapse, not have our knees collapse, so really staying strong in the hips. And wrapping up with a contralateral kettlebell bird dog. So really drive those feet into the ground, make sure everything is nice and level, and squeeze your core. If you need to set down a foot, that's totally fine. See what we can do. Try and hold it out there for 30 seconds. You got it.
inside the rabbit hole. Set me free from you. Somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Somebody please help me. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. On and on. What kind of spell you put on me? I've lost all sense and can't feel. Only you can make me whole. I don't wanna lose my soul. I'm so scared I can't breathe. I just don't know what to believe. You wrote my name on your soul. Set me free from you. Somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Somebody please help me. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Keep me from somebody please keep me from twisting. Keep me from dizzy. Keep me from twisting. Somebody please help me. Please help me. Please help me.
Alright, those were tough sets, but we made it through. We're gonna move on into another cluster of movements. We got some swing high pulls, really activating our power, our posterior chain, getting that kettlebell high in the sky. Moving on into some kettlebell tricep push-ups. Nice narrow hand placement, driving up hard, activating those triceps, and finishing up, getting the heart rate going if it isn't already up. We're getting some mountain climbers, so we're pumping out those knees. Savor this minute, we're back to work. have 6 minutes left in the tank? I think we do. Let's muster up a little bit of strength here. We got a core TABATA, so we're gonna light up that midsection here. Butterfly crunches, legs are wide, knees are apart. We're taking the hip flexors out of the equation, all the abdominals, moving into some hollow body single leg extensions, trying to keep that back flush against the ground as much as we can, activating our hip flexors now. We're getting the lower core involved, and the last grouping of the TABATA is in a seated L crunch. So grab your light kettlebell, let's get a nice pause at the top, nice firm contraction, and then slowly lower yourself to the ground. No plopping here. 6 minutes, 2 rounds, you got your freedom back. Let's go, folks. forgot to do a post video. I apologize like I normally do, but we made it. Congratulations. That was a tough one. I definitely enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did as well. Getting a little bit larger as far as the working sets go, but still staying within some strength and power, compound movements, and then just laying up the core at the end. I like that little touch. I was definitely feeling it. I normally do not get ab cramps, and today was the day. Hopefully you all made it through. Thanks for rocking with me. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe it, share it to somebody else that you think would get a kick out of it. If you did not like it, love, criticism, all of it is welcomed, good or bad. So if there's something that I can do better, please let me know. I'll try and fix it moving forward. If there's something that you absolutely loved, you can let me know as well, and I'll try and incorporate a little bit more of that into workouts moving forward. So again, I apologize for the hiatus that I went on, but we're back in action. We're gonna try and have these workouts coming to you every week. Longer format. I'm gonna touch base on some of the shorter format as well, like on the previous video. So just smaller Tabata workouts, some AMRAPs. Let's keep this train rolling. Appreciate the support. We'll see you next time, all right? Take care. Excellent full body power, coordination, proprioception, overhead stability, core stability. We're looking at a single arm snatch into a contralateral reverse lunge. So this movement right here, we're just using one kettlebell. Let's situate ourselves, kind of crowding it, have the kettlebell right in between our feet, our shoulder width apart. We want our big toes in line with the horns of the kettlebell. So nice and clustered right over it. Soft bend in the knees. Let's shoot those hips back, get into a nice deadlift position. Let's start off with the kettlebell in our right arm. So contralateral meaning opposite sides. If we're snatching on our right side, our left leg is going to be working. So we're getting that diagonal across the body. So as we snatch it, pulling hard through the elbow, we're going to extend our hips, so really squeezing our glutes, keeping our chest up high the whole time. Simultaneously, that right leg is going to be stepping back. So we're moving back into that lunge. We're pulling upwards, kind of a contrast as far as the movement of our energy. We're going up and back. So just be mindful of that in the catching phase of the snatch. We don't want to be all off center and throwing a kettlebell up overhead. So just be mindful of that. Really squeeze our core. Don't just try and throw that kettlebell backwards. We're trying to get as vertical as we can. And then as we catch it, we want to be in that bottom portion of the lunge. So we want our knee underneath our hip, underneath our shoulder, underneath our wrist now with the kettlebell up overhead. So everything's nice and stacked. As we land in that lunge pattern, then we're going to drive hard to that front heel, being our left leg. That'll bring us back to center. The whole time maintaining that kettlebell up as vertical as we can. What we're looking for, we don't want our ribs flaring out. So if we're lacking a little bit of mobility up overhead, maybe our lats are a little bit too tight, or maybe this is a new movement for us, we may be a little bit off center as far as our center of mass and making sure everything's nice and tight. So just a couple things to be mindful of there though. So as we snatch, we're catching, everything is stacked like a pillar, drive through the front heel, bring ourselves back to center. Then we're just going to be alternating sides. They're really good for power, like I said, core stability, single leg strength, balance, and it's sure to get your heart rate up because this is a full body movement right here. You're going to be feeling it. Excellent movement here if we are looking to build a little bit of upper body plyometric power, getting some strength development, get some single arm pressing strength, going to have some core stability as well because we're going to be offset as far as the plane that we're pressing from. So our core is going to fight to stabilize. We don't want our shoulders getting all wonky or hips getting out of the way. This is a alternating kettlebell plyo push up. Let's start. Let's say the kettlebell on our right arm, left arm is going to be on the ground. So right off the bat, we're going to be a little bit off center. So this is going to be really good for opening up that chest, getting some really good depth as we move on to that one side. As we press upwards, we're going to transfer the weight primarily into the kettlebell side. That left arm is going to come up off the ground, doing a little balancing act, doing a little bit of juggling with our hands. So as we press upwards, we're going to alternate, decelerate on that other side. Now your right arm is going to be on the ground, left arm up on the kettlebell, and just alternating between the two. So really trying to explode upwards. Some things to be mindful of here though. If we are getting some good depth, maybe our chest is super tight, maybe our lats are a little bit tight, maybe we're not used to getting that depth quite as deep in our pressing. Our shoulder may feel an urge to rock forward, especially in that kettlebell side. As we go deeper, it's going to anterior rotate if you're not mindful of it. So the whole time, trying to retract the scapula, create space, allow yourself to sink deep into that pressing pattern and just alternating between the two of them. Whole time, trying to squeeze our glutes, trying to keep that arch out of our low back, so straight line from our head all the way down to our heels as we go about it. If this is difficult for us, we can do a press and then just walk it over. So it doesn't have to be as aggressive as plyometric. Maybe our wrists are a little bit aggravated. We don't want the pounding when you land from side to side. So that could definitely be an option for us. Press walk it over, allow ourselves to go down again, and press upwards. Plyometric kettlebell push-up. We're looking at a core movement right here. It's going to be incorporating the lower body. We're going to be having some anti-rotation properties to it. We're working the glutes, we're working our abductors. Variation to a plank. So if we are familiar with planking, the same roll call that I've been going down the whole time. We're trying to open up that pickle jar. So we are internally rotating our shoulders. We are protracting as much as we can. We are squeezing our glutes. We are tucking our tailbone down, squeezing our quads, driving our toes into the ground as hard as we can. Nice solid unit, right? So as we're planking, hips aren't up in the air. We're not having a suspension bridge for our back. Everything's nice and tight. So check all those boxes. And then we're moving into single leg abductions. So abduction meaning removal from the midline, going away from it, alternating one leg, doing exactly that. So if we are in the variation of a high plank, we're just gonna have one leg go out to the side. Hover it as far out away from your body as you can, within reason, while maintaining that proper posture. If we start moving that leg out and immediately feel a little bit of pressure in your low back, or if you feel like your hips are raising up, just bring it in a little bit more, even if just you lift up one leg, that's totally fine. We're still gonna have those anti-rotation properties. But what this is doing is isolating one side against the other. So if we are driving one leg into the ground, those are those quads, those are your hip flexors, that's everything driving hard into the ground. Lift up the opposite leg. Now we're working the antagonist muscle group. So we're getting the glutes, getting a little bit of hamstring, and then some abductors, getting that leg out to the side. So hold it out there for a 1 count, alternate between the two. You can do this for time, you can do this for reps. Really excellent movement if you're trying to keep that heart rate up in between squat patterns, in between your rest periods. Maybe you can combine this with a pressing or pulling movement just to hit your core and the lower body, get those involved as well. If the high plank is a little bit difficult for us because we have the longer lever arm, you can totally move it down onto your forearms, hit that low plank, and then as opposed to maybe hovering that leg up off the ground, you can just go ahead, do a little toe tap on each side, still hitting those same muscle groups, just a little bit less intense. Find a variation of this movement that works for us and go ahead, give it a try. This is a great movement if we're looking to develop full body strength and power. We're looking at a two-handed clean into a thruster. So we're gonna stack ourselves over the kettlebell. Have your big toes kind of in line with the kettlebell. So nice and close to it. As we move into a deadlift pattern, so soft bend in the knees, hips are back, our chest should be directly over the kettlebell. So we're grabbing it by the horns, nice and stacked. Let's have those shoulders pinned down. We're not getting too shruggy when we come to pull it. Pull upwards. We're gonna squeeze the glutes, extend forward, pulling hard through the elbows. Pull it upwards. At the top portion of that clean, we're gonna wrap our elbows around, move it into that front rack position. Now we're at the top portion before descent into the thruster. So a thruster is just a squat into an overhead press. Once it's up on top, squat back down in that front rack position, being mindful of keeping our knees out, keeping our chest up, making sure our butt kind of doesn't do that butt wink, so the tailbone isn't rocking underneath us at the bottom portion of our squat. Good cue to keep our knees out. If we're standing on a big sheet of construction paper, if you can picture that, try and rip the paper in half. So really drive the weight into the blades of your feet, keep the weight in the heels, knees are out, chest is up, and then as we stand up, let's explode upwards. Let's use the momentum from our squat, especially if this weight is on the heavier side, to assist in our overhead press. Explode upwards, drive it up overhead. If you've ever seen the movie The Shining, if not, you can Google it, here's Johnny type thing. That's what we're looking for at the top portion of our overhead press. So we don't want to be pressing it out in front. I'm sure you've seen folks at the gym that are kind of doing a 45 degree for the overhead press. That's not what we're looking for. We're trying to stay as vertical as we can to try and get that kettlebell up towards the ceiling, up towards the sky, rock everything forward, keeping our ribs down. We're not overextending. Then we're gonna go back into that front rack position on the descend, back onto the ground, and that'll be one rep. Clean it up, squat it down, press it up, back to ground zero. That's a two-handed clean to a thruster. This is a good movement right here if we are looking to get comfortable in the bottom portion of our squat while also working out some biceps. Traditionally, you're grabbing the kettlebell by the horns, palms facing you. With this one, we're kind of going to reverse that grip, so have our pointer fingers towards the meat of the kettlebell, if you will. The bell side is coming upwards when you curl it. So we're going to squat down, knees out, chest up, weight in the heels, no butt winks, a nice proper bottom portion of the squat. So as we're down there, we're just going to hold out. We're going to hang out down there, really open up the hips. This is really good for mobility if we got tight hips and maybe we're not doing so well in that bottom portion, we're a little achy breaky. This is just a good way to get comfortable down there, and we're just curling up. So as we curl upwards, you're immediately going to feel some tension on your forearms. So traditionally, if you're doing any other type of curl, it's right on you, right? There's no lever arm, there's no distance between the weight and your arm. So as we're curling it up, especially with the body of the kettlebell being farther away from your wrist, we're going to fight to maintain this. So the kettlebell is going to be pulling us down. We want to really work right here, keep it in a nice neutral position, and curl ourselves up. We're not looking for crazy weight. Grab something a little bit more on the moderate or light side. Get the reps in, really increase the musculature of your wrists because these are probably going to be a little bit underdeveloped. I know for myself, they are challenging. I got little baby wrists, but definitely great movement. Open up the hips, getting some bicep activation, and it's going to be pretty nice for your core as well, trying to maintain posture and not letting that weight take us down. Isometric squat with a kettlebell horn curl. Nice full body movement, getting into nice primal patterns. So just moving the body in funky ways, getting used to things, just lighting up different portions of our brain, different neural pathways. I'm sure we haven't moved like this. So this is a great way to refire some of those synapses in your brain and just get your body moving. So it's going to be a rock back into a kick through. Let's position ourselves in a bear stance. Not familiar with a bear stance, we're going to be on all fours. So hands and feet. Our knees are going to be underneath our hips, so our legs are going to be bent, trying to keep our shins as parallel to the ground as possible. That's our starting position. So rock back, we're going to try and have our heels come onto the ground. We're pressing away from the ground, trying to get our hips backwards, and that's going to mimic a nice deep squat pattern. So good stretch on our abductors, getting the knees out. Good stretch for our thoracic spine. We're not trying to round up top, so as we press away, it might feel like a Rice Krispie treat. Snap, crackle, pop up in your back, allowing a lot of space to be created, and then we're moving into a kick through. Let's go ahead, let's start on our left side. So after our rock back, come back up into that bear stance. We're going to our left side, step up with our left leg. So our left leg's gonna go up to our left hand's gonna come off the ground, then our hip flexors or obliques, our shoulder stabilizers on our right side. That's all gonna turn on because with our right leg, we're trying to kick through. So as we kick through, trying to keep our heel elevated, that left arm is still up in the air. So now we're doing like a funky side plank, the obliques are lighting up, glutes, the hamstrings, everything's turning on for that kick. Then as we come back, just repeat the process in reverse. Right leg comes through, left hand comes down, left leg comes back, rock it back, now up to the right side. So right foot, right hand, left leg kicks through. If we're feeling ambitious, we got this movement pattern down pretty well. We can add in a little bit of a hop, add in a little bit of fluidity to the movement. As opposed to a step, go ahead, do a hop. So if we're jumping up to our right side, do like a little gallop, right arm comes up right off the bat, step kick, bang bang, rock back, you know? Add some fluidity to it. You're gonna be really nice at twister once you got this one down, but to rock back into a kick through. Full body mobility, stability, it looks pretty cool. This will be a variation to a dumbbell row, so I'm sure we've done these ones before, or some variation of a dumbbell row at some point in time, whether it's off a bench, chest supported rows on a machine, even with a kettlebell, if we're just standing, alternating gorilla rows. What this one is great for is adding a little bit more of the lower body coming into play. We're asking our glute to light up, we're asking our rear foot to stabilize with the heel elevated. Now we're gonna situate ourselves like a long lunge. So if you're doing a very bad lunge, I'm sure you've seen these before. The right leg is way super extended, the chest is falling down. We're kind of teeter-tottering over on one side, so we want to get into that pattern. Being that we're not lunging, all this is going to do, we're gonna elongate our stance, so it's gonna ask our core to stabilize in the offset stance. We're gonna be loading up the front glute, we're gonna be loading up that front heel, that front leg, hip stabilizer on that one side, then the rear leg is just acting as a kickstand. Nice long stance. We're gonna have the kettlebell on our opposite arm that is in front. So if our right leg is back, right arm holding the kettlebell, we're gonna position ourselves chest going down so we can have that horizontal rowing pattern. And then as we lean ourselves down, you're gonna feel a lot of tension in that glute. So that left side, really squeeze that glute, really drive that heel into the ground. And then as we pull upwards, we're trying to keep that shoulder right where it is. If we start to get fatigued, maybe that kettlebell, maybe that weight is a little bit too heavy for us, maybe it's at the end of our set and we're trying to squeak out a couple more reps, we may start going like that as we pull. So just be mindful of that. Keep that thing pinned down. That's gonna engage our lats, your lower traps, scapula, everything like that. Pull it back, pin it down, and as we row, trying to drive up hard to the elbow, put that kettlebell into our back pocket. So nice and tight on one side, get yourself a row, go down, touch the ground, and we're right back up. If we have our foot positioning, we have the rowing pattern, everything down pat, we just wanna be mindful of where our torso is going in space, especially being unilaterally loaded. We're gonna feel the urge to let that kettlebell move us however it pleases. So squeeze our glutes, squeeze our core, make sure everything is nice and in line. Hips, shoulders, everything going in the same direction, and we're just moving that arm. Really good for your lats, glutes, core, all that jazz. It's a chainsaw row. This will be a single arm kettlebell racked march. So it's not looking like much, but it's gonna be doing a ton for your core, doing a ton for your erectors, single leg stability, adductors, abductors, hip flexors, glute work, you name it. Yeah, full body movement, just looks like you're walking in place, and it feels like you're walking in place. So let's grab our kettlebell, let's get it up into a front rack position. We do want to go on the heavier side of things, so if you need 2 hands anyway to get it up into that front rack position. So positioning itself onto one side, try and drive our elbow forward, trying to keep our forearm as vertical as we can, and just let that kettlebell kind of rest on your shoulder, the front of your chest. If need be, you can hold on to the other side, but ideally we're just using one arm in the rack position. And we're just going about business. We're just marching. We don't want to become lackadaisical in this just because it looks extremely simple. It's just a walking pattern. We want to be very intentional with every step, every knee drive. We're curling our toes up towards the sky. We're really trying to intentionally flex our core musculature to get that knee up. Hold it up there for 1 Mississippi. So as we step upwards, we're going to feel a discrepancy from side to side, being it contralaterally, ipsilaterally, depending on which side the leg is moving with. It is on our right side and the right leg stands up. Immediately, those abductors on that side are going to turn on much more than if we're on the other side. So as opposed to letting our hips collapse, those muscles are going to have to fight to stabilize on this side, as opposed to having your knee buckle inwards, it's now going to have to force outwards. So you're going to feel that as you step from side to side. Also, as the set progresses, we just want to be mindful of where our shoulders are going, where our chest is going, especially with having a heavier load on one side. We don't want to collapse forward and slowly round our shoulders. So keep everything nice and pinned back, keeping our shoulders down. We don't want to get too shruggy as we go about this. We don't want to lean on to one side. I know there's the weight there, but you're using everything in your body to act like it's not there. Nice, perfect steps, being super intentional, trying not to waver from side to side, and just keeping that spine as neutral as we can. You can do this for time, you can do this for reps. Really great movement if you're just trying to keep our heart rate elevated, but also an excellent movement if you're just warming up. Getting your body primed for a workout, getting it primed for a session, and this translates so well to modern life. So if you're carrying groceries, if you're carrying a child, garden seating from Costco or Lowe's, you know, you're gonna have weight on one side and you're still gonna need to move throughout life. So this is gonna be really good. It's gonna set you up a ton for just protecting your spine with a unilateral load. So this is a single arm kettlebell march. Difficult movement, doesn't look like much, but your core is going to be lit on fire, and it is extremely humbling. I know when I first started doing these, I could not find my balance. I kept toppling over, falling over. It's just so frustrating because you can do it. It looks very easy. This is a kettlebell bird dog. Let's position ourselves up in a high plank. The kettlebell is going to be offset to one side. Let's say it's on our right side. So a common mistake I see with this one, maybe we set up a little bit too far backwards, and now we're kind of reaching for the kettlebell and everything's out of whack. So position that kettlebell directly below us, so we create a tripod action. So our arm is vertical, grabbing that kettlebell. Bird dog being opposite hand, opposite foot. So we're gonna get a little bit of cross tension. The kettlebell is on our right side. Our left leg is gonna stay planted. Left arm goes up, right leg goes up. So we're really gonna ask our left leg to drive into the ground, anchor us, keep us safe throughout this movement. And what that is gonna do is stabilize our hips. So if we're driving hard on the ground, our quads are gonna light on fire, our hip flexors, our core is gonna be nice and intact. We almost want to pull downwards on the kettlebell as well. That's going to engage our lats, prevent any of the shruggingness, and just protect our spine as well. So if those lats engage, that's going to make sure everything locks down. And now we have that nice crisscross of tension going throughout our back. So this could be for time, this could be for reps. Just hold it for as long as you can. Even if you just get a couple of seconds, you need to put a toe down, regain posture. That's totally fine. Find something that works best for you. Even if you are, maybe your left leg is down, right arm on the kettlebell. Maybe you can keep that right leg down as well and just do a single arm plank. You're still going to get some benefits, and then as we progress, maybe you can remove another leg and move into that posture. Great one for your core, shoulder stabilization, and we got a kettlebell bird dog. This is a good movement right here if you're looking to build some power, some upper body strength, and just crank up that metabolic output. So really getting that heart rate up, really burning some calories, and swinging some heavy weight in the process, which always feels good. So if we are, let's set up like we would traditionally, like a deadlift, right? So soft bend in the knees, shins vertical, hips are back, shoulders pinned down, nice and strong, loading that posterior chain, and situate ourselves maybe 3, 4, 5 inches behind the kettlebell. We just want to have a little bit of space between the kettlebell and ourselves, so that initial pull, we're using that momentum right out of the gate. Off that pull, we are pulling it backwards, kettlebell is going to slap our behind, and that'll be the terminal point of that portion of the swing. So as soon as it gets back there, everything's extending. So driving hard through the heel, squeeze our glutes, let's swing our hips forwards, let's extend the knees, hold these arms forward. What we're looking for here, we're not trying to do a shoulder raise right out of the gate. Common mistake you may see with the swings, they are swinging and then a lot of shoulder activation, a lot of trap activation, pulling that thing up. This is primarily a hip dominant movement. So we're using all the force generated from the hips, the glutes, hamstrings to get that kettlebell up and moving, especially as it gets heavier. Our shoulders are either gonna get hurt or they ain't doing much to be moving some of the heavier weights. So a lot of it is coming from the glutes, a lot of it is gonna be using momentum. As we are pulling forwards, as we're extending forwards, kettlebell goes up, and then at the terminal point of that height, then the shoulders come into play. So use that momentum, keep it going, and we're gonna pull up and back. So we don't just wanna raise it out in front. It's kind of gonna jeopardize your shoulders if you're in a funky position, and then the weight starts coming down again, gravity comes back into play. Don't wanna do that, pull backwards. So almost like if you were doing like a face pull with the rope, shoulders, thumbs right up over your head, pulling, and you just have to be mindful of how that weight feels. So you don't want to hold on to it and pull it back, and then it kind of loses its levity, and now you got 80 pounds up over your noggin, and that's a bad day. We don't want that. So we're gonna pull. As soon as we start feeling the momentum starting to shift and go the opposite direction, you want to give it a little gentle push, just pushing a kid on a swing or something. You don't want to go crazy and push it all the way forward. Now you're all out of whack as we're catching it. So just a little tap, get it back into that kind of circular movement of the swing, and then we're going with it. So let that chest fall down, back into that swing pattern, back into loading the posterior chain, and we're just like a seesaw. So as we go backwards, terminal point, hips engage, shoulders pull, don't bop the head, and then we're gonna let it reverse. It's a swing high pull. It's really nice. You can use relatively heavy weight, really get that power up, but really get some strength up overhead. And like I said before, this is going to be sure to get your heart rate going. So give it a go, see how you like it. Looking at a push-up variation. So traditionally the push-up, shoulder width apart, shoulders pinned down, engaging the lats, just doing a press like that. So this variation is a tricep push-up, tricep focus. So we're just going to be narrowing up our hand placement, put it up on the kettlebell. So it's going to ask our core to engage just a little bit more, stabilize, make sure everything is nice and stable on that bottom portion. We're just going about a press. So same idea, trying to keep our shoulders pinned down, especially as the set progresses. You may see the shoulders come up, get a little bit shruggy. That's just going to compromise the shoulders, compromise your pressing strength. We don't want any of that, right? We want to stay strong. We want to stay stable throughout the entire movement. So actively pin those shoulders down, engage your lats, engage your lower traps. And then as we descend, at the bottom portion, the horns of the kettlebell, that should hit your chest. That's a really good notifier that you should go back up because you can't go anymore. And then we're gonna press back upwards. Simple movement. We're just putting the stress a little bit more on the elbow extenders as opposed to the arm adductors, right? So triceps as opposed to the chest. Tricep, kettlebell, push up. Checking out some mountain climbers. Simple movement. Maybe you've done these in gym class. Just going over right here. Let's move into a high plank position. Let's check all these boxes. Hands are about shoulder width apart, internally rotating. Pack our shoulders down, engage our lats, engage our lower traps. Drive our toes into the ground, engage our glutes, engage our quads, all that. So nice solid movement, nice solid compact posture, and that'll be the positioning. So moving from there, we're just alternating like a train, like a combustion engine. We're just driving those knees up to our chest. We can go quickly, get the heart rate up. We can go slow, we can control it. We can be very intentional. We can squeeze our core as we go about it. So you can play around with the tempo, find something that works best for you. The quicker you go, we can almost turn it into a trot. So if you slow down the video here, you'll see both my feet in the air at the same time, which is kind of cool. Driving your knee up, if you go super slow, you can really accentuate the curvature of your spine, so really tuck that tailbone up underneath. But again, world is your oyster. You can play and find a tempo that works best for you in your fitness level. Checking out a butterfly sit-up. So this one very similar to a traditional sit-up. Same mechanics, we're just doing the sit-up, but just butterfly is describing the positioning of the lower body. So a lot of times if you're doing that crunch or you're doing that sit-up right in front of you, we're gonna be relying heavily on our hip flexors to do the brunt of the work. That's why as you start doing those, you get a little bit taxed and then your toes start coming up. So a lot of people put them under a dumbbell or put them underneath a kettlebell to restrain them. But in that same instance, we're gonna be relying on the hip flexors. So the butterfly sit-up, knees are gonna be facing out, heels heels are going to be together. So this way, those same muscles that flex the hip, those are going to be out of the equation. So just relying all on the rectus abdominis and this core musculature to get you up to the top. Same mechanics. You can reach out overhead, get a big stretch of the abdomen, and as you go up, if you need it, you can use that little bit of momentum coming forward with you, but ideally it's going to be a lot just in that trunk, a lot in the core muscles to get you up. If you start feeling your feet want to come up off the ground, that's when you know you hit the tipping point and those hip flexors are coming into the equation. Good core movement. If we've ever done a dead bug, if we've ever been in rehab, if we maybe incorporate these into our warm-up, just adding a little bit of a load, being a little bit more intentional with it. So with a dead bug, hands are up overhead. We're going to be alternating which hand and which leg goes out. Really good for just bringing attention into our core, protecting our spine, and getting a little bit of overhead stability. With this portion, we are just going to be holding a kettlebell, or we can use body weight, just holding our arms up as vertical as we can, and then we're going to be taking turns extending a leg. Things to look for here as we begin to lower one of our legs. If maybe we have super tight hip flexors, maybe our core is a little bit underdeveloped, maybe we have an extra vertebrae. We can't bend down that far. We're going to feel our ribs flare up and our low back come off the mat or the ground, whatever we're working with. So we really want to squeeze our glutes, tuck our tailbone underneath us, and keep our back as flat to the ground as we can. So as we extend down, find a distance that works for us, find a distance that we can get to without our ribs flaring up. Because ideally we want to be as neutral on the ground as we can, and just taking turns. So what the kettlebell is doing right here, it's going to be activating our upper body. We're going to get a little bit of chest activation. We're going to be getting a little bit of lat. And if you can almost picture a suspension bridge, if our spine is the bridge, it's two forces acting upon it. We have the weight up on top, then we have a lever arm increasing on the lower half. It's just increasing the intensity. So like I said, you can use body weight. Want to up the intensity, grab a heavier kettlebell, and we can go ahead, take turns, keep your back flat, and breathe through it. And as we come back together, just be intentional with your core, trying to light that thing up. Looking at a kettlebell L crunch. So if you've done an L crunch previously, it's just feet up in the air and going up to touch your toes. If you've seen any Pilates videos at 2 a.m. back in the day, or some Jane Fonda, this is one of those movements. So grab your kettlebell, go a little bit lighter. What we're looking for is a nice firm contraction at the top. Our legs are up in the air. You can have a soft bend in them. If we are using a kettlebell, have it by the horns with the belly of the kettlebell facing upwards. You don't want to hold it in a weird rack position. It's just going to kind of aggravate your wrists. So holding it by the horns, belly right here, and we're going to try and get it as vertical as we can. Try and press upwards. Really use the top of our core to that musculature. Let that light on fire. Get vertical. We're not trying to crunch really and tuck our chin and make like a C. If you can picture that with our spine, we don't want to do that. Try and lift up, get vertical, hold it for a 2 count, really try and squeeze those abdominals, then lightly descend on the way back. We're avoiding the plop. We don't just want a system to disengage and fall back down to the ground. We don't want to do that. Slow controlled on the way up, squeeze, slow controlled on the way down. Exhale on the way up, inhale on the way down. Kettlebell, L crunch.